Hello, guys, and welcome into the Starcastic Remarks Studios. Along with Christian Chambers, I am Ryan, and this is where stories happen for the stars. We talk about these sort of things, and unfortunately, we live in a state where football is king, and we fell in love with hockey. So hopefully you'll enjoy our banter back and forth. Chris, we've been gone for a while. Nothing's happened, right? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, except for hockey stopped making sense, but
Oh my goodness.
Halo, everybody. Halo.
Yeah, there is so much that we have to talk about. And you may not hear us talk about everything this evening.
No.
So there's no way. I mean, we'd probably, 4 hours probably if we actually mentioned everything. So we'll do it. We're going to split this up into 2 episodes. We got tonight, and then we also got tomorrow night. So for those of you that are listening on the podcast side, you'll get another one tomorrow as well. So specifically what we're going to do tonight is we're going to think Stars perspective only. All right. So we're going to look at just the Stars side of the news and see what we got going on here. Because golly, just with the Stars, there's so much that has happened over the course of the last couple of weeks with the Seattle expansion draft, and then also with the NHL draft, and then also with free agency, which nobody thought that the Stars were going to be super affluent in the free agency, and that's exactly what happened.
Boy, were they wrong.
Okay, so let's just talk about just the first bit of Stars news that I want to mention. This one just broke, I think this morning. It might have been this morning or just yesterday. It's long overdue, but Sergei Zubov, the man, the myth, the legend himself, number 56, Mr. Hall of Famer now, is finally getting his number retired by the Dallas Stars. And that will be happening in January of this upcoming season. And I believe it's going to be against the Capitals. So congratulations to Mr. Sergei Zubov. Not like he didn't deserve it or anything, or not that we didn't expect it, but it couldn't have gone to a more deserving person among the Stars Blue Liners.
Yep, love Zubov. Integral to the Cup run. It'll always be a part of Dallas Stars history.
Well, and it seemed for the longest time, for a while, that he was not going to get his number in the Hall of Fame, his name in the Hall of Fame at all. Even though he, won a couple cups and, had been an integral part of all of these teams, and especially for the Dallas Stars for years and years and years. So that makes, what is that? Are we up to 4 Hall of Famers that were on that Stanley Cup team? It was Madonna, Belfour, Carbono, and Zubov now. So 4 of those guys, very integral parts of the Dallas Stars. Congratulations to Sergei Zubov. But let's get down into the stuff that we really want to talk about. That Seattle expansion draft.
Wait. And Brett Hull.
And Brett Hull. Oh, 5. Oh, that's so bad. Oh, I can just imagine Brett Hull watching our
I had to look
right
it
now.
up because I thought I was going crazy or something. I was like, did you just not say Brett Hull?
Derp. And it's just a guy who, scored over 600 goals or something. No big deal. Okay, but can you just imagine him watching our stream and being like, dude, what the heck, man?
I think we're good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hopefully he never sees this and I don't feel awkward and bad. Anyways, okay. So let's get to the Seattle expansion draft. We're going to talk specifically with the Stars. Okay. So one move before the Seattle expansion draft actually starts for the Stars, and what everybody thought was going to be the pick for the Seattle Kraken was not meant to be, because the Dallas Stars trade Jason Dickinson to the Vancouver Canucks for a 3rd round pick. I believe it's in 2023. I'm not quite sure on the year, but I am sure on the round. I hate that so much. And specifically for me, everybody who watches our streams or listens to our podcast knows that he is one of my favorite players. He will continue to be my favorite player, even if he plays for a really rough Vancouver Canucks team. But Chris, what did you think about the trade?
I mean, yeah, it kind of sucks, but I mean, it's the right trade to make because he was definitely going to be picked if he wasn't traded, because he still had years on his contract. He was an RFA. He was a young guy. He was still getting better. He's somebody you could really build the team on and could really be a solid third line guy for him. So now we get a pick for him, which is obviously better than nothing. So it's the right trade, even though it sucks, but there was no way we were keeping him.
Well, yeah, it was either him or Oleksiak, and at the time, it didn't sound like Oleksiak was going to be signing with the Kraken, but unfortunately, that happened. We'll get to that in a second. But man, I know a lot of people think that, oh, it's Jason Dickinson, it's not that big a deal, but for me, especially this past year, he really stepped up as the third line shutdown center. And I mean, you can talk about him not, progressing enough with his offense or anything like that. But defensively, I think he was on the elite side of the NHL. And he could, I mean, I would not hesitate to put him up there with like the Philip Deneaus of the world and the, those top, third line shutdown centers of the world. And he was absolutely fantastic. And especially with Radek Faksa not playing up to his potential like he has this past year, and just him being hurt overall. I mean, there was even times he was on the second line, and just he did a bunch for the Stars this year. So
yeah, unfortunately, I think that's more of a tell of how many injuries we had than how good Jason Dickinson is, though, in my opinion. I mean, I thought he was good. You convinced me throughout the season. You made me a Jason Dickinson fan, but in my opinion, this isn't a huge deal, especially with the signings that we made that we're going to get into soon, and with the fact that Radek Faksa is going to be healed up. Like, he's going to fill that spot and be just as good as he was before, in my opinion. So not a big deal in my opinion, but I do miss him. It would be nice to keep him, but not a huge deal.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Nill did go out and make sure that we replace Dickinson and Oleksiak both in the free agent signings. Again, we'll get to that. We keep jumping ahead. So let's just go ahead and get to the main reason why we wanted to do this show was to say goodbye to Jamie Oleksiak. He does, as a UFA, he is the pick for the Seattle Kraken from the Dallas Stars. Because I mean, honestly, who else were they going to take other than Oleksiak? Who else would they take?
They would have taken Marchessault, or I don't know how to say his name. How do you say that name?
Masherin.
Marchessault.
Marchessault. He's on
Masherin. They would have taken Adam.
So you think they would have taken Adam if Oleksiak hadn't said anything?
Yeah. Well, and yeah. I looked into some Twitter stuff. I forgot who reported this. Sorry, whoever it was. I mean, but whatever. But it sounds like it was a really last minute thing, because Oleksiak said that he had no idea until the day before the expansion draft, and his agent told him to get on a plane and go to Seattle. So it sounds like Oleksiak was just worth too much. And from seeing the contract that he signed, that's pretty true. It's a little bit higher than I think we would have been able to pay. And obviously it was too high for what Nhl would want to do. So he goes to Seattle, which really sucks. He's an awesome player and could get better from here. So it really sucks to lose him. He's going to be really good on the Kraken and could even become a top pair guy for them in the future. So good luck to him.
Yeah. So, really good luck to him. I mean, he got paid. He deserved it. He really
deserved to get paid.
He got his contract. Well, speaking of that contract, let me find those numbers real quick. He signed a 4-year deal. No, 5-year deal. Excuse me. 4-year deal was Larson. 5-year deal for a annual cap hit of $4.6 million. So, I mean, that's top 4 right there. And, for Oleksiak, he may even get the opportunity to play top 2 minutes with the Seattle Kraken. So,
yeah, and I mean, he deserves it. He's been a great player, and he's shown that he can even be offensive as well. Maybe we see more of that on the Kraken, since they don't have as good puck movers as the Stars already have. He can try and find a different role there, maybe even too. But love Oleksiak. When we first got him, He was good. We sent him off to Pittsburgh to get better. Brought him back. Made a cup run. Good luck to him later on. We'll win the cup without him.
Yeah, and that's that's the other reason why a lot of people are talking about Oleksiak, especially that Seattle's very excited because he has Stanley Cup experience, Stanley Cup Finals experience, and nonetheless. So I know a lot of people look at that, and some people believe in that, some people don't. I believe unless you're in that kind of a situation, you really don't understand what the experience is like to be in the Stanley Cup Final. And, for someone like Jamie Oleksiak, he's got that experience. He's in the prime of his career. He's 28 years old. He's not like, late 30s or 40s like Chara or anything like that. And like you said, he played with an elite defenseman in Miro Heiskanen in the past, is it year and a half or 2 years? So, and he was averaging over 20 minutes a game for us this past season. So that's a huge hole that the Stars would have to fill, which they have filled now.
Yeah, and we're going to get into it, but we tried filling it with 2 guys.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But one of the things we're also going to miss about Oleksiak is just his pure size. There's not many guys in the NHL with his size.
We found one, though.
Yeah, well, close. He's still smaller than Oleksiak, but we did find one. So, and honestly, just some career numbers. He had 6 goals, 14 points, -3 this past season. He had a 55.8 percentage, 5-on-5 scoring chance, 4 percentage, and 56 regular season games with the Stars last season. And like I said, 20 and a half minutes per game, and he was, and that included a minute and a half average with when we were down a man, so on the penalty kill. So, man, lots of things that he filled that I don't know if the Stars fully,
that sucks.
addressed it, but we'll see. That is one guy that we definitely wanted to have. But so do you think that? So you said that you read somewhere that it was definitely a last minute thing. Was it really a last minute thing?
I think it was. I think Oleksiak was just going to take however much he could get from whoever it was, because that's where he is in his contract life right now. Like he needs to cash in. That's where he is in age, is what I meant.
So you don't think that 4.5 would come from the Stars at all?
I don't think we were willing to pay that. I think he probably maxed out at 4, or Nhl probably offered him max 4 AAV. So,
well, I don't necessarily believe that, because if it was
offered him more.
No, well, if the max was 4 for Nhl, I would spend the extra $500,000 to keep him around. Just because of the way he played with Heiskanen, and I know some people don't like the way that he played with Heiskanen, because a lot of people said that he was too willy-nilly. He wasn't stay-at-home defenseman enough for Miro Heiskanen to do.
I slightly agree with.
I don't care, though. Oleksiak did offensive things, and we need that in a team that can't score goals. So
I think having a guy that's gonna stay behind more and be like I think Heiskanen was more Oleksiak security blanket than the other way around. So I think if we can find a way for Heiskanen to have a security blanket, which I'm sure we're going to talk about with the guy we signed later, I think that will allow him to be more offensive and be more aggressive, which I think will lead to more points, which is what we need from our defensemen to win games, obviously, from what we saw in the playoffs. So I think overall, it, in a weird way, this is going to make Heiskanen better, Oleksiak being drafted. So,
the responsibility is definitely going to go on that top 3 again, especially offensively.
It was before this anyway, though. So,
but still, Oleksiak
had. I understand.
Oleksiak still had a portion of that responsibility in the top 4, and the further that it went along in the past couple of years, the more that you could rely on Oleksiak being a solid, NHL top 4 defenseman.
Yeah, and I'm not arguing that. He's definitely top 4 at least.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's exactly why he was signed. So, and why he was taken from the Stars. And the other thing I was thinking about is, they had him in Seattle, right? So it's not like he's one of those picks that they take from a team and then immediately flip him for something else. No, he is a Seattle Kraken. You say Seattle Kraken? He is a Seattle Kraken, or do you say
he's a Kraken?
He's a Krakener. I don't know. Anyway,
he's going to Seattle.
He's staying in Seattle. He's not going anywhere. Yeah. That was the other thing I noticed about him being there, along with Jordan Eberle, Chris Driedger, some of those other players that were there.
What I read, he said he hopped on a plane the night before. So
go figure, man. Go figure. So, all right. Well, anyway, put a bow on it. Thank you, Oleksiak, for your years in Dallas, especially your second stint. Your contribution to that Stanley Cup run in 2020. It's always going to be in the front of my mind. And as a Dallas Stars fan, I think I can speak for Chris. We thank you very, very much. And we good luck to you in Seattle. I'm glad you got paid. But if you play the Stars again, we will not be booing you. I promise. Okay. So no Stars fans are allowed to boo Jamie Oleksiak when he comes to town. Okay.
Can't wait to see him in those awesome jerseys. Oh my gosh.
I will say those jerseys. I mean, I don't know what is with the last two teams, the Seattle expansion and the Vegas expansion, but both jerseys have been just excellent. Awesome.
Hot take, don't like Vegas jerseys.
Really?
Correct.
I love the Vegas jerseys. I love the Vegas.
That's not what we're talking about.
Especially the gold jerseys. About.
Yeah. We got too much.
Right.
Oh, you say especially. Okay, move on.
I don't like the gold helmets though. The gold helmets are stupid.
All right.
Anyways, all right. Yeah, before we open another box of can of worms, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Okay. Anyways, so let's get into. Don't give me that look. All right, let's get into this next topic that we're going to talk about. Which is we're going to skip over the NHL draft. We'll talk about that tomorrow because we both need to do a little bit more research on that before we get to it. But just as a disclaimer, the Stars got a lot of prospects.
I think we had good.
I mean, we started with 8 picks and we ended up with 10. And I think we got all the players that Jim Nhl wanted. So,
which is trading to get to take the lower pick in the first round to get more draft picks overall is an amazing move, especially in this year's draft, because nobody has any idea of which players are good right now. It's literally we're getting more shots in our gun to try and hit a good target right now. That's all that was. I think that was a great move. Just want to talk about that real quick.
Yeah, and side note, people need to stop talking about Jim Nhl like he's an idiot. I mean, I love you, Josh. Josh, if you're listening, I know you don't like Jim Nhl for some of the moves that he's made, but I love Jim Nhl. I really do. And there's a reason why he's been around the Stars for a long time now. Yes, he's made some boneheaded decisions and some darts haven't stuck.
Especially with prospects.
Yeah, I am Val Nichushkin. But, the fact that, he's never made a stupid decision. Like it's some of the contracts that were handed out the past couple of days. Holy crap. I am so glad, by the way, that we did not go after Blake Coleman. Aren't you glad with the amount of money? Or Seth Jones. $9.5 million for
Seth Jones.
For Seth Jones. Chicago. Are you insane?
That's another
absolutely
tomorrow.
Insane. That's another tomorrow. We'll get more into that tomorrow. But
it's so hard to stay on track today, guys.
I know, okay.
Oh my god.
All right. I'm just gonna stop
Free agent
signings. Here we go. Okay, so first off, we want to mention 2 players that the Stars we already knew we were losing, but they've already signed contracts. There's others that have not, but these are the 2 I know of for sure. Cogliano has signed a 1-year deal to go to San Jose, and I think it was for $1.1 million. So good luck to Andrew Cogliano. We loved his play in Dallas. We just couldn't score. He just couldn't score. Yep, he's back in California. And then also Mark Pisick. As much as it was a short time with the Dallas Stars for Mark Pisick, he was very effective for the Stars for what he was asked to do last year with the whether he was on offense or defense or whatever situation he was put into. We actually signed him as a defenseman, and then most of the time he was playing offense, and he did a fantastic job with it. So,
thank you,
good luck.
Pisick. You were adequate.
Yes, thank you, Pisick. And the only bad thing for him is he is going to where all players die. He's going to Buffalo. So
now Arizona's where all players die right now.
No. Buffalo
is
all right,
the
real
place
quick.
where players are already dead.
Okay, real quick. Who's worse? Who's a worse franchise, Arizona or Buffalo?
Worst franchise is Buffalo, but worst team, Arizona.
Really?
I mean, Buffalo technically still has Jack Eichel right now, so
okay, but we all know that he's going to be traded before the season starts. If he's not traded before the season starts, I will be very highly shocked. Okay, again, we're getting off topic. Okay, anyways, all right. So, holy crap, didn't know. We heard about one signing, a couple of days, maybe a day before free agency opened on July 28th.
Little
Waspers, and there was. We expected it. Some people agreed with it. Some people don't. It just depends on how you look at the contract. And then everything blows up, and we signed like 6 or 7 guys, and very highly addressed depth within this organization. So let's just start at the top. We'll start with the obvious one. Ryan Suter. Comes from the Minnesota Wild on a 4-year deal worth $3.65 million per season. He is 36 years old, so it is a 35 or plus year old contract. Where's Sam when you need him? He hates 35-year-old contracts.
I don't know.
What's your original thoughts on this deal, Christian? Any ideas?
Well, just like everyone has been saying, it's a great signing, but we hate the term. But like, so that's what everyone's saying. We all know it's not a great term. 4 years. He's going to be playing for the Stars, or he's going to be under contract for the Stars at least when he turns 40. That's not good. So what I realistically think this is that this is a loaner because we're trying to win now, but he wants the stability to know that he's going to be in Dallas until the end of his career. And that's what it costed for us to get Ryan Suter to try and win a cup with this original core. So for that, I think it's worth it. So I think overall, this signing is meh plus. I give it a meh plus because I wanted Ryan Suter, but man, that contract sucks.
Well, and this is why, excuse me. This is why I think that Nhl was not willing to go above 3.5 because for Oleksiak, that is, I should go back to that. For Oleksiak, he wasn't willing to go. I mean, he fudged a little bit for Suter, but not much, right? So, I mean, that's why Oleksiak decided, yeah, fine, I'll go to Seattle, and he got his payday.
That makes sense, yeah.
And so from Nhl's side, he knew what he was going to do, but none of the Stars fans knew what all of these signings. Holy crap! That we were going to get all of these signings.
Yeah, because that extra $1 million in cap space that we save from going with Suter instead of re-signing Oleksiak is going to
other players,
really good number 5 defenseman that we signed too.
Yes, and I'm really excited for that. So let's talk more about Suter though. He does get a no movement clause.
That is the worst part of the contract.
But
it's expected.
Right. And honestly, if you're look at it from Ryan Suter's perspective, do you really blame him?
No, well, that's exactly what those were his terms. Like 3.5 is nothing for somebody like who's been in the league for as long as he is.
He was going to make 7.5 million if he wasn't bought out this year.
Exactly. Like 3.5 is like very small for, but he wants to be able to end his contract and know where he's going to be. He's happy being in Texas and then ending his career. That was his terms was the term. He wanted 4 years and he wanted to know where he was going to be. And if that's what it took, fine. We're not going to once our core is too old to actually be good. And once we lose Radulov and Pavelski and we start flirting with what's going to happen to Ben and Sagan, we're not going to be contending anymore at that point. And that's when Ryan Suter's going to be in the last 2 years of his contract. So at that point, it doesn't matter that we have 3.5 that is maybe a 7th defenseman even at that point.
Well,
so I think it's worth it.
And 2 things about that no movement clause. 1, expansion is over. So, general managers were a little bit more, were less frugal with the no movement clauses that they handed out this offseason period, because you didn't have to worry about Seattle expansion, right? And then at the cap hit that he's at, if he's a 5 or 6 player, that's something that you can eat up and be okay.
Yeah, you can live with it.
It wouldn't. You can live with it. It wouldn't be a great contract. It wouldn't be like a.
It would be a bad contract, well, but it wouldn't be awful.
But that's one of the things I love about Nhl. I'm going to go back to Nhl because he doesn't sign stupid contracts. Like, for example, the oh my gosh, San Jose, not Brent Burns, other dude. Is it
Carlson?
Carlson. I almost said Erickson. Duh, Carlson. Thank you. At least he doesn't sign stupid contracts like that. That's why we got Joe Pavelski in the first place, is because, the general manager of San Jose signed him to that $11.5 million contract.
And I'll agree, this contract isn't stupid. It's just the last 2 years are bad. but if the first 2 years are good, then it's worth it, right? Because we're trying to win the cup in the next 2. Is what I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. So Suter gave up some of the money that he probably could have gotten elsewhere, right? And we gave up the fact that we didn't want to give him a no movement clause, but we gave it to him because that's what he wanted. And that's why he probably signed with Dallas. There were other teams that were probably maybe even offering him more money.
Yeah, but you get 1 year, 4.5, probably.
Yeah. And at his age, at 36, Ryan Suter, he is a guy that, he's got a family. He's got young kids. He's got a wife. They'd like to stay in the same place. And based off of the conversation that he had with Bill Guerin when he was bought out, he said it very politely when he had his interview. But I mean, he was really mad, and he had every right to be mad with the fact that he was getting bought out like that, because he was expecting to stay in Minnesota, and that, unfortunately for him, didn't happen. So I really don't blame him for that. And then from Jim Nhl's perspective on the no movement clause, I really don't mind it. I really don't. I know he's an old guy. I know he's not somebody that you would normally give a no movement clause to, but Ryan Suter is a veteran defenseman in this league. He fully deserves it. He deserves the money that he got. And then the last point that I'll make on Ryan Suter is we're paying for the last 3 years for this year alone, this first year. This is it. Whether Jim Nhl admits it or not, this is it. This is the year. If we're going to go back and get another chance to go to the Stanley Cup final and, win it with this core, like you said, this is our last chance, because next year Radulov's gone. Pavelski's gone. All these contracts are coming off the books.
Contract is coming up.
Klingberg's, which I'm glad to hear that there's an extension. I watched Jim Nhl's media availability right after free agency, after he did all the signings, and he said that Klingberg was currently was talking negotiations. So I'm glad to hear that. But
how is that possible? He's doing a meeting and talking to Klingberg at the same time? Crazy.
You're a dork, Chris. Shut up.
Talented guy.
Anyways, okay. So Ryan Suter, based off of the other signing that we'll talk about here in a second, do you see him filling that 4th spot and filling Oleksiak's role?
I think it's gonna just be dependent on whoever plays better with Miro. If Miro likes playing with Suter better or playing with a classic big guy like Oleksiak, it just depends on what works best. I think either one would be fine.
All right. So
I'm leaning towards Suter.
Yes.
There's my official answer.
Right. So, all right. So we keep mentioning this guy. We're going to go ahead with him first before we get to the
mystery defenseman.
Yeah, the mystery defenseman. He has one of the greatest names in the world. This reminds me of Yoki Paka. Remember Yoki Paka? Mm-hmm. He has a name just like that. His name is Hakanpää.
Hakanpää.
That is so much fun to say. cannot wait for Razor to say that for the first time and have some sort of Razorism with Hawk and Paw. Okay. Hawk and Paw comes from the Carolina Hurricanes. He is a 6'5". Holy crap. Big boy. Another probably a guy to help fulfill that size role that Oleksiak left. He signs for a 3-year deal worth $1.5 million per. And depending on how you look at this contract, this could be a good contract, good value, or we could have overpaid him. What's your thoughts or initial thoughts on Mr. Hagenpaw?
I think this is the best free agent signing. I'll have it tied. It's tied for the best free agent signing. So I think so. He's 29. It's a 3-year contract, which he's going to be on this team for a while still. And even if he does suck, of course, they're going to trade him because he doesn't have a no movement clause. He's a nobody. But anyway, from what I've seen and heard from other people who watch him often, he's a really solid defensive guy. His mindset is defense first. He's not really offensively minded at all, but he's a solid D guy, doesn't really make mistakes. He's always in the right position. And of course, he's big. We like big. Big is good. So I really love the signing. I think it's super cheap. I think it's cheaper than what he deserves from what I've heard, at least. So I really like this signing.
Couple of things about Mr. Hagenpaw. His first name, Yanni Hagenpaw. Sorry, I'm going to keep saying it because it's so much fun to say. Anyways, he is 29 years old, split the season between Anaheim and Carolina last season. Like you said, he's not an offensive guy. He only had 4 points in 57 regular season games between the two teams. But his big thing, he finished 3rd in the league with 215 hits. I'm really excited for that part.
I like that.
So he also he played with Carolina in the playoffs. He showed up with Carolina for 11 playoff games. And here's another interesting thing about Hagenpaw and why he wanted to come to the Stars. What are the Stars known for, Christian?
Left-handed defenseman.
Good guess, but no. He's Finnish. He's another member of the Finnish Mafia. We have another one to add to that. Interesting statistic that I saw on, well, it's not really a statistic. It's more just like a interesting fact that I saw on Twitter. The Stars will be the first team in NHL history to have 30 different Finnish players play for their NHL team. So that goes to show you why he came to the Stars, because Roope Hintz, Miro Heiskanen, yada, 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 yada. And, just keep naming him off. Kiviranta. I think Kiviranta's from Finland too.
I don't know.
Anyways.
Go Finland. We like Finland.
Yep. And obviously so does Jim Nill. And then even before Jim Nill, the defenseman we had before, the general managers we had before. So,
but realistically, that does kind of help with team chemistry and stuff.
It does.
I know it's kind of cliche to say that, but having someone who speaks your native language and is from a smaller country like that, it's easier to become friends with a guy like that because you already have things in common with him. So it is a plus.
Right. And if this guy really does have a huge upside, which he might be a great defenseman that could fill into that top 4 slot. Maybe if Ryan Suter's not up to that. But
if not, he's an amazing number 5.
Right. He's an amazing number 5. I mean, this is the kind of guy that, that the Stars really like. And this is for those of you that didn't like the fact that Oleksiak was very much, in the play a lot more so offensively and trying to get involved offensively. This is a guy who could play with Miro Heiskanen that will not do those things and allow Miro Heiskanen to do those things.
Yeah, you don't like offensive defensemen? Well, here you go.
Yes, this is the guy you want. So, anyways, Hagenpaw, I cannot wait for Razor to say his name the first time. I'm going to be so excited. Anyways, so that's one of the other big splashes, and he actually came later in the day. I'm gonna admit. Let's go ahead and go with the next one. That
we
I
didn't
love.
grade him. I gave him a good.
You gave him a good.
Yeah.
You're not gonna give him a mid plus.
Nah, he's a good.
He's good. A plus. Okay. A plus from Christian. So you know that
he's a good, not an A plus.
Not even an A plus. Okay, just
he's
good. Okay. All right.
Don't mess up my scale.
I love this next signing myself. Just because I've watched him for several years. I know he's on the older side, but I don't care. Luke Glendening from the Detroit Red Wings comes to the Stars on a 2-year deal worth $1.5 million each per season.
I really like Luke Glendening.
I love this deal so much.
I know Josh and Sam hate it with their stupid advanced stats, but screw advanced stats, dude. The eye test tells me that Luke Glendening is awesome.
All right, so I really believe that he was signed for one reason and one reason only. And what is that?
Face-offs.
He is better than, and the Stars are pretty good. They're pretty good. We're a good face-off team. And he just makes us even better. Like, holy crap. I think at one point, in some of the seasons he's played, he's been at like a 60% win on his face-off percentage, Luke Glendening. Holy crap. So
yeah, last season.
Last season. There you go. 60% on a team that was really bad in the Detroit Red Wings. They got better, but they were still really bad last season. And it just seems like, these little things that kind of pop up to you with certain players and what they do. Do you think Jim Nill thinks that faceoffs are really important? Obviously, he
really
thinks
important.
Well, some people press those off to the side.
In today's NHL, it's all about possession, and like they say, coaches always harp on puck battles. And I remember one of the big things that Monty talked about whenever he was with the Stars. He's like, the first puck battle is the face-off. Like, that's what it is. So if you win the first puck battle, like the first puck battle of the, I don't even know what they call that. What's the time called between whistles?
No, I don't know.
Play.
Between whistles, whatever. Between play, whatever.
But if you win that first puck battle, like you're already off at an advantage. Like, and if we can, like, it's gonna look like we're gonna be dominating faceoffs. We already were. Like, even last season without Tyler Seguin, we were still winning faceoffs most of the time. And like now, like with Luke Glendening on our third or fourth line, like they're gonna be winning faceoffs too. Like, that's a puck battle. It's another puck battle that we're gonna win. So I don't know why you wouldn't like it. And so he's basically the replacement for Cogliano, and boy, what an upgrade that is. That is a huge upgrade in my opinion.
Well, and a little bit of Dickinson too, in my opinion, because Dickinson was good on the face-off draw, and on top of face-offs, Glendening can also he can kill penalties. He's really good on the penalty killer. So I'm honestly shocked that Detroit did not re-sign him.
I'm shocked that it only cost us $1.5 million.
Well, bargain binning. Jim Nill is a beast, and he knows what he wants, and he got decent contracts for some of these players. The only one that would be kind of iffy is the Suter contract, and even then, if Suter doesn't pan out this season, or even seasons after, it's not a huge loss to have a cap like that. It might hurt us a little bit, but it's not going to. It's
not high enough to cripple you.
Right. It's not a 7.5 AAV like the OEL contract,
like his
or
previous
anything like
contract.
That. Yeah. So it's nothing like that. So that is a good thing in that. And so one of the things that I heard when I was listening to Jim Nill's media availability was the fact that, and I forgot who said it. It might have been Mike Heika. He was saying that the Stars could possibly have 5 of the top 10 face-off percentage win people in the NHL starting next season. So I'm really excited for that fact. If we can possess the puck and keep it out of our zone, that helps. That's what 50% of defense now is just winning the puck battle, getting it out of our zone.
Winning a puck battle on the penalty kill, like that's immediately 15 to 20 seconds off the kill.
Huge
at the very beginning. Like it's a crazy advantage to have. Like I think it's way more important than people give it credit for.
Well, and that's exactly why players like Nick Suzuki. I mean, the only fault in his game is that he can't win faceoffs. I mean, if he could win faceoffs, he could be one of the best players in the NHL.
And that's what we talked about with Rope Hintz players,
too. Right? And Rope is starting to win. He's starting to win more of those draws, especially this past year.
Even last year when he was kind of filling the role of Seguin, it's noticeable because in the big faceoffs at the end of the games, Seguin won them. He would always win that faceoff, and Hintz wouldn't. And if you're trying to win the game with less than a minute left and you're in the offensive zone and you lose that faceoff, that is killer, dude. Mm-hmm. So like us having these awesome faceoff guys and getting Seguin back as another great faceoff guy, it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be really noticeable about how much more we have the puck. And as a team that does not score well and is doubling down on the not scoring well with these signings, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later, it's going to be really important to have the puck way more than the other team.
All right. Well, let's go over these face-off guys for the Stars. Seguin, he's improved ever since he's gotten here. I think he's been here for 6 years now. Oh, that's crazy to think. 6 or 7 years now.
He's always above 50%, well over.
He's almost always over 50%. Ben, even though he's started as a winger, he transferred to center when the Stars were really bad and they didn't have any center depth. He's a good face-off man. Mm-hmm. Now we've got Glendening on top of that. He's probably one of the best in the NHL. You've got Radek Faksa, who had a rough year this year, but we know
why he broke his hand. Hands are kind of important.
He broke his hand. Yeah, those are kind of important. And then we had Dickinson for the longest time as well. So, meh. And then the only detriment was Rope Hintz. And Rope Hintz was not good his breakout season. Yeah. But last year, being hurt, he was better. And his numbers were getting better. Still under 50%, so it's less than where you want it. But if he's on a line with somebody like and Joe Pavelski, Joe Pavelski as well, he's above 50% as well. So you've got all of these guys who could win that faceoff. And I mean, think about that. Think about that through the lineup for the Stars. There's somebody on every single line that could possibly win a faceoff. Sometimes two.
That can realistically win a faceoff.
Right, exactly. So it's just insane the amount of depth that the Stars have at that particular aspect, and how much Jim Nill has shown that he feels that is extremely important.
Yeah, and that is going to be important because we don't score, like I said. So with the signings we have, these are all defensive signings.
It completely matches our style.
Yeah, these all match our style. We're doubling down. We are, with these signings, I feel like we are trying to be not one of the best. We are trying to be the best defensive team in the NHL. And if we can do that and find a way to get the puck more so that we can score more, that would work, I think. So we get Seguin back, we get Radulov back. That's a little bit more goal support. And if we can have the puck more than the other team, then obviously that gives you more of a chance to score. So having those two, hopefully that'll lead to wins, right? Right? I think that makes sense.
There's still some questions surrounding this team.
There's obviously questions on the offense, but I was actually looking this up earlier today. Like if you look up like the top offensive teams and the top defensive teams. The top defensive teams are all great teams. The top offensive teams, some of them are not good teams, and they don't perform well in the playoffs. So defense is obviously more important than offense. And I know everybody hates to hear that in the modern NHL, and offense is so highly praised. And of course, I feel like offense is way more important in the regular season. But when you get to the playoffs, like teams like the Islanders, they are contenders every year. Their offense is below league average on almost every stat. And they are consistently making conference finals. Like, you don't need that offense.
New York Islanders.
You need some offense. You don't need the best offense. So if we can find a way to get some points, if we can find a way for Rope Hintz to be even better than he was the year before, that's all we need. So defense is more important in the playoffs. I love the signings. I love doubling down on the identity of the team. Overall for free agency, are we done? Oh, wait, can I give the overall? I already have been. Overall, I like it.
we still got a lot to talk about too. And so I skipped over this one by accident. I meant to mention this one right after Hawk and Pop, but this is not really a free agent signing. This is more of a extension. Miro Heiskanen. He gets his big money contract.
Oh, shoot. We didn't even talk about. Man, we haven't been.
Yeah, I know, man.
It's
been a while, man. Yeah, that's what we get for not doing it. So Miro Heiskanen, he signs for 8 years, so he gets the big money contract and term. And
we're 50 minutes in and we didn't talk about that.
I know, man. And he gets a $8.45 million per season. Jim No got it done. Exactly what we needed and exactly what he needed as well.
It's been pretty much 2 weeks since this happened, so I'm sure y'all have had enough of the talk about it. But I'll just say, especially since the signings that have happened recently, this is a great contract. I love it. Miro Heiskanen is going to be a star for almost forever. Hooray.
And we thought he was going to get, I mean, we were talking 9.5, maybe 10
we were saying 8.5 would be a good contract. And that's what we got. So
and he even got a little bit less than 8.5. You know, about 50,000 less. It's basically 8.5, yeah. So, okay. Other players that the Stars got over the past couple of things. Some of them are not really big. They're more depth moves, and then we'll get to the one that really scared everybody. So another one, they signed Andreas Borgman. He kind of split the year between Tampa Bay and Syracuse. He's just purely a depth move for the Stars. Same thing with Alexander Petrovic. Alexander Petrovic kind of comes over from Stockton of the American Hockey League. He spent most of the time there. And again, another depth move. He's kind of an older guy. So in case the Stars have a lot of injuries and stuff like that, those are two guys that can jump
that'll
in.
Never happen.
We said that about the forwards, and that's why we didn't make the playoffs last year. So, and then just some other re-signings. Colton Point signs a 1-year, 2-way contract. Nick Commando comes back on a 1-year, 2-way contract as well. Another, contract of note. Michael Raffle comes from the Philadelphia Flyers and also the Washington Capitals. He was on both teams for both of those for this past season. He's a solid 2-way guy. He's got good hockey sense, and he's also big guy. He's a strong physical presence on that line and on the ice. And again, just more veteran savvy, more depth.
If the Stars play good this year, hopefully he doesn't find the ice very often, though.
I think he will, because I think he would. He's purely a fourth line guy. He's not a third line guy. And so we'll see how that goes.
I'm hoping to see Delandria and Masher in there instead, but
right. And we'll talk more about that here in a second about what the lineup may look like right after this. But any thoughts about any of those contracts? Just purely depth moves? Anything?
Those are all depth moves in case everyone gets COVID or gets hurt again. But we all know that never happens, and that those guys will never see the ice ever because everyone always stays healthy.
Knock on wood. All right, let's get to the signing that scared everybody, and not just sent shockwaves through Dallas Stars world, but across the across the hockey world. Mr. Braden Holtby is a member of the Dallas Stars. He comes to the Dallas Stars on a 1-year, $2 million deal. I never saw this coming. And when I first saw the tweets for it, I thought it was a joke. Because it wasn't, the tweets weren't coming. It wasn't coming from, Darren Drager or Frank Saravelli, Elliot Friedman, Chris Johnson, any of those guys. It didn't come from those guys at first. And then, those guys started, saying, yes, this is a thing. And I'm thinking, holy crap. We have 4 NHL goalies on our roster, Chris.
We have 4.
What's your thoughts? Tell me your thoughts. What you're thinking.
I thought the same thing when I saw it. I thought it was a joke. I thought they were spoof accounts or something like that when I first saw it. But my thought is crap. That means Ben Bishop is not okay.
That is exactly what that means. And
that means
that
he's
is the
not going to
scary
play
thing.
next season. So the big question mark for next year, we know we're going to be a good defensive team. We know we're going to be good on faceoffs, and we're going to be good on penalty kills. We don't know if we're going to score goals. That's up to our individual forwards and our offensive defensemen, of course.
And we'll talk about that in a second too.
But the number one question mark this season is how good is our goaltending going to be? And who's going to be in the net? Because we have no idea. So the ideal case scenario is that Ottinger is our starting goalie. He goes to training camp. He plays amazing. He steals the job, and he carries this team on his back until we become a dynasty and win 5 cups. And he has 3 Vezina trophies and all that. That's the ideal situation. And Holtby's in the back, retiring. The bad situation is that Hudobin's our starter, Holtby's the backup, and that Ottinger is in the AHL. And I am very scared of that possibility. I do not want that to happen. If that happens, I will be very upset and will be on the fire nil train. Like literally for that only that reason, I will jump on the fire nil train. Because if we waste another prospect in the AHL, especially another
goalie prospect. Jack Campbell 2.0. That cannot happen.
I will lose my mind. Like, I think Jack Campbell's whole career was screwed up by staying in the AHL that long. I think if he moves up when he was actually ready, who knows? Maybe he gains that confidence and is a great goalie. Like, and we don't trade for Ben Bishop. We don't need to get Antti Niemi whenever Lettinen starts struggling. We just have Jack Campbell and we go win cups that way. And we have our offense system and all that, and Jack Campbell is just the wall in the back. But Jim Nill sucks at deciding when prospects should start playing in the NHL. He's terrible at it. So please, just let Ottinger play in the NHL. He doesn't have to be the starter just to start off with. He can be the backup or the 1B or whatever. Please don't put Ottinger in the AHL. I will cry. I will literally cry. On camera.
Lots of thoughts from me here. It may be good, maybe bad.
How good?
So Jim Nill is very different than some other GMs. Some GMs, they get their star pupil, young guy, and they hand the reins to him and they say, go, win, be free. Jim Nill is not like that. But how many times has that happened for an NHL franchise?
Well, the Penguins won the cup that way.
Okay, but
so did the Blues.
Okay, but again, very few. I don't include Jordan Binnington in this group of players, but the group of players that I think of young players that can drop in and just immediately start making an impact: Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, Alexander Ovechkin. That's probably where my list stops right there. I don't include Nathan McKinnon. I don't even include Leon Draisaitl in that conversation. And it's just because of how the NHL, they love youth. They value youth in the NHL nowadays. It's been going younger and younger and younger. And instead of the prime being, 27, I think that age now has dropped to like 24, 25, where a player is in his prime. The thing I don't want to see happen to Ottinger is what happened to Carter Hart. And I've mentioned this before. Carter Hart was given the reins to the crease without any competition. So there was nobody that was going to take his spot, not even Brian Elliott when he was there. And he had a really good season, a good couple of seasons. This past season, though, holy crap. Not good whatsoever at all in the story discussion. I mean, the Flyers missed the playoffs partially on the fact that they could not keep goals out of their own net. I mean, there were even games that Carter Hart wasn't even on the roster. He wasn't even the backup, so he couldn't have even played that night, even if they wanted him to. So, in a way, I understand what Jim Nhl is doing. Am I 100% behind what he's doing? No. Because Ottinger has proven himself. He has shown that he is capable of being a good goaltender. I don't know if he can be a starter right now, but definitely a tandem goaltender with somebody else, with another another good, decent goaltender.
So you agree he at least needs to be a backup at the very least. He can't be in the AHL.
So that comes to my second thought. If you're Jim Nhl, you don't want Ottinger sitting on the bench being a backup. If he doesn't get if the plan is for him to not at least get half of the games in the NHL, he needs to be playing in the AHL. That's my thinking if I'm Jim Nhl. I'm not saying I agree with that, but that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to read his mind, what I'm thinking. When you listen to the again, I'm going to go back to this media availability interview that he had with all the Stars media guys. He wants more competition for Ottinger. He doesn't want to just give Ottinger the reins. And Hudobin's still there. If Bishop is ready to go for training camp, which I don't think he will be, he's not. He could be there. And then now Holtby's going to be there. So if Bishop was still healthy, Ottinger would not take the starting job away from Bishop, right?
Correct.
You would agree with that, right?
Correct.
He would take it away from Hudobin.
Yes.
But he wants to make sure that Ottinger is fully ready. And he wants more competition for Ottinger. And I'm not saying I'm agreeing with this 100%. I'm understanding it, but I'm not agreeing with it. I see you shaking your head. But do you understand the thought process if you're Jim Nhl?
Yes, but the only way it makes sense is if you trade Hudobin. Like, that's the only way it makes sense. You can't have those three guys on the roster at the same time, in my opinion. You're going to scratch a goalie every night? Like, that can't happen, I don't think. Like, that's not reasonable. Like, well, there's going to be competition either way, whether it's Holtby or Hudobin. They're both decent goalies still. So if Ottinger does, hey, I'll let you talk forever. So if Ottinger does figure out that for whatever reason he's going into a sophomore slump, we're going to have those guys who are going to be decent enough so that if our team is good, we will still be a good overall. But there's no reason to have three. There's not. Unless you're going to scratch either Holtby or Hudobin every game, and then that's a lot of money that you're not even going to have on the bench. So it only makes sense if Hudobin is traded, in my opinion. That's the only way it makes sense, and then you're trying to free up cap space for something else. That's the only way it makes sense in my mind. And if Hudobin is not traded and Ottinger's in the AHL, that's insane to me. I would wholeheartedly disagree with it, like I've already said.
So who do you expect? Let's just say that Bishop is not ready, because it from what
I feel like that's obvious.
I think that's 100% obvious. If he comes back at all, for that fact. So who's the tandem?
The tandem is Holtby Ottinger.
So
that has to be it. In my opinion, there's no other option. That's the only option.
So if Hudobin outplays or outperforms Holtby at training camp,
Hudobin can't go to training camp. Hudobin has to be traded before training camp starts. What are you gonna do? Put him on waivers and send him to the AHL?
I'm telling you right now, Chris, based off of what I saw and what I watched in the press conference, that is not going to happen.
That's ridiculous. That's crazy, in my opinion. Why are we having a $2 million and a $3.5 million goalie fight each other in training camp to be the backup to someone who gets paid less than $1 million?
I don't know. I understand why he did it. I don't necessarily agree with it.
I don't understand. There would have been competition either way,
but not really.
Yeah. Yes. Hudobin would have been. Hudobin's still a good goalie. He would have been good competition.
If Bishop is hurt, If Bishop is 100% hurt, there's no way Point is coming in. The only two goaltenders you would have is you would have a Hudobin Ottinger tandem again.
Yeah, like a normal NHL hockey team.
But you're missing my point. That is not what Jim Nill wants. He wants competition between. He doesn't want to just give Ottinger the reins. He wants to give more.
The competition is for the starting job. It's who's the best goalie. It's like exactly what happened last season.
It's a three-way right now. It's a three-way.
There's no reason to have a three-way competition for goalie. That doesn't happen on a normal hockey team. That's so much money wasted on competition.
But again, he obviously doesn't feel 100% for sure about Ottinger or Hudobin, which is why he went out and caught Holtby.
Holtby?
And okay, so let's leave that discussion for another day. But what I do want to talk about is Holtby's numbers are not good.
All that said, all the competition.
Yeah.
And Holtby sucks.
Holtby does the past couple years since
he goes to training camp, we buy him out after training camp.
No, that will not happen. That will not happen. So
oh my gosh. Well, it can't happen. That's not.
Let's talk about a couple of positives with Braden Holtby, because so he does have Stanley Cup, Stanley Cup final, oh my gosh, experience. I can't think of the word for a second. Experience. Okay.
Yeah, he had one of the greatest saves of all time in a Stanley Cup final.
Yes, that's true. Okay, that's also true. But he hasn't been the same since then. And in Vancouver, he was behind a really bad defensive core in Vancouver. And coming to here, I think our defensive core and our defensive style of where we play can make any goaltender look good.
I'll agree. There's no doubt he will be better.
Go look at New York. Varlamov is, I would say, an above average goaltender, but he looks great because of the style that they play. Same thing with Sorokin. He was a rookie last year, and they were so physically, making sure that their defensive side of their game was locked down that Sorokin didn't have to be tested all that much. I mean, they had that one game where they, laid a goose egg, and it was like 8-0 against Tampa Bay. But other than that game, they were sound defensively from the other games that I watched. So I think that Braden Holtby coming here could be a good thing for him. And I think he could be good enough for the Stars if he has to be an option. I hope he's not. I still think it'll be a Hudobin-Ottinger tandem this upcoming season. And I think Holtby, I don't know. Maybe get traded. I don't know. But
I give this signing 2 poops.
2 poops. I like your rating system here, Chris. It's very good.
It's a very accurate scientific scale. Don't roll your eyes at me. What is wrong with you?
Okay. Anyways, just to throw some stats up, we'll put a bow on it, and then we'll talk about our Who Cares segment for tonight. I don't even want to say these because they're so bad. 7, 11, and 3. He only played in 21 games. It was all with Vancouver this past season. 3.67 goals against average and an 889 save percentage. Holy crap.
Woof.
That's bad. That's just real bad. So, this is a guy who he's been a Vezina Trophy winner. He's won the Stanley Cup. He helped the Capitals earn the William Jennings Trophy back in 2016, 2017. I don't know what else to say about this, man. This whole situation just has me completely confused. So, final thoughts on Braden Holtby, Chris?
I already gave it 2 poops.
2 poops. Okay. All right. That is not all of the news. Obviously, we'll talk about way more news afterwards. But before we get to our Who Cares segment for tonight, which is going to be fun, it's going to be interesting. Let's just look at a potential Stars lineup. This is what I put together based off of all these after all the signings and stuff. So, line 1: Hintz, Pavelski, Robertson. Pavelski stays on the right side. He's not a center. Agree? Good.
I like it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
And then line 2, Seguin, Radulov, and I put Gurianov. That's our second line. What do you think?
We'll see where Gurianov falls. I feel like he's going to have a better season. So
I agree.
We'll put him on that line. I feel like he fits better with those two as well.
So, and I want to mention this right now because a lot of Stars fans did not like the fact that this was not addressed in free agency, but they wanted another top 6 player that could score goals.
We have 7 top 6 guys.
Right. That's exactly what I was thinking too. And a lot of them were either hurt or had bad seasons or whatever.
Or is Jamie Benn, who's unfortunately had multiple bad seasons in a row.
Right. And third line, this is who I put. I put Ben, Kiviranta, and I put Raffle there as well. Yeah, I guess you could put Raffle or Glendening there.
I want Raffle to be a healthy scratch in my personal opinion. I don't think I don't love him, but
whatever. So who would you put as your third line then?
I would put Dellandrea, or I really want to see Masherin on the lineup. I feel like if he has a good training camp, he can work his way in there.
Well, what about Damiani? There are so many players and not enough roster spots.
Let's just say in general, I prefer a younger guy who has scrapped his way to a roster spot rather than a defensive-minded veteran who really is just a guy who can't score and figured out a way to stay in the NHL.
Again, that third line needs to score for the Stars this year.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Not
if we can find somebody, give them a chance, they're hungry, I would much prefer that, especially on a team that's already old.
Speaking of Raffle, I don't even know what he scored this past season.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Where
11 points. Yeah. 11 points in 44 games. So so you know what? I take that back. I want to see one of those guys up there too. I want to see some younger guys.
Man, I made you change your mind in real time.
You did. Good job.
Convincing.
Chris. All right, and then for your fourth line, I guess since I'll say I want Damiani and Masherin up there with Ben. I'll put dang, that's a good fourth line. Foxa, Glendening, Como. That's a good fourth line.
Yeah, that's a good fourth line.
That's a really good fourth line.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm so excited, bro. Like,
I'm
our
excited.
Lineup is good, but the goalies just terrifies me, dude.
It does. Agreed.
Please let Ottinger play.
Yeah. Where's Josh with his cardboard sign that says "Free Ottinger" when you need it? All right, and then that leaves us with our defense. We're not even talking about the goaltenders because we already did. But I'm gonna say Klingberg and Lindell stay together. I'm gonna say Heiskanen and Suter, and I'm gonna say Hakanpää and Sekera. And I know there's a lot of people that are gonna want to say to see Harley up here. Harley doesn't need to be playing in the bottom 3. Or the bottom 2, excuse me, in the third pairing, the bottom 2. So I think it's going to be Sekera and Hakanpää, and I think that's our lineup for our possible lineup for the Stars.
If Harley has a crazy good camp and Sekera doesn't, I would be fine seeing Harley in there. I would be happy with it. I feel like he would get enough minutes, especially if he's playing well, because I think that third pair is great. Especially if Harley's in there, that would be a crazy good third pair. They would play a lot more than the third pair did last season. So I would be fine with Harley being in that spot over Sekera.
Agreed, 100%. So
I don't know why I have a feeling the Sekera's going to do bad, but I just do.
Well, and we harp on him so much, and then when we don't talk about him, that's a good thing because it means he's doing his job.
His job is to not be noticeable,
right? And for portions of the season he wasn't, so that was a good thing. So, anyways. That's gonna do it for us for the Stars portion. We're gonna get into our Who Cares segment for the evening. Or Nobody Cares segment for the evening, where we talk about anything but hockey. So
I thought it was called Who Cares?
Who cares?
It's called Who Cares?
Who gives a crap?
Who cares about Who Cares?
Okay. So, anyways, for our Who Cares segment this evening, we are talking about our top 3 favorite Summer Olympic Games. So, you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
We'll do the pass it back and forth thing. We'll start at number 3.
Okay.
All right.
So You first or me first?
I'll go ahead and go first.
Go ahead.
Okay. Number 3, because it is hilarious, we have artistic swimming. How is that a sport? If you're going to call artistic swimming a sport, you have to call marching band a sport, and I don't think marching band is a sport. All right, moving on to you.
Can you imagine a marching band Olympics, like Olympic
the
medal?
Olympics of marching band?
The United States would win that hands down. It wouldn't even be close.
Hey, Japan has some good marching bands.
Okay, you know what? Never mind. Okay, Japan wins. That is very true. Okay, for my number 3, I put gymnastics. I love, and I know that's very broad because there's very different things about gymnastics, but I enjoy watching all gymnastics, the women's side and the men's side. Just the fact that some of the things that those guys and ladies can do blows my ever living mind. On a side note, it was really sad to hear about Simone Biles dropping out of the Olympic Games. But it allowed for other members of the women's Team USA team to kind of shine through. So it was good in that aspect, and it was mostly from a mental health side that she kind of dropped out. So I don't think it was necessarily a physical side. So that she was hurt or anything. So anyway, shout out to her. Hopefully she's okay. Hopefully we'll see her at the next Olympics or whatever. But yeah, anyways, number 3, gymnastics. All right. What's your number 2?
All right. My number 2. Oh, wait.
Are you actually looking at a list? You're actually looking at a list, aren't you?
I have the whole
you nerd.
list. I
you
have the
absolute
whole list
nerd. I'm just doing this based off of just
number 2. We're going to be legit on number 2. And we're going to give it to water polo.
Really?
Water polo is fun to watch. Have you watched water polo?
Uh-huh.
It is fun. It is so cool. Those guys, it's kind of like hockey, whereas like you're playing a ball into net game. I include like soccer, hockey, lacrosse,
handball,
ball into net game while doing something that's difficult. Like standing and running in soccer, that's not that difficult. But treading water.
Oh boy, you just opened a can of worms for a bunch of soccer fans.
No, okay.
The stamina required for that?
Okay, yes. But the thing about the stamina required for water polo is way more. Try treading water and then try standing.
In an Olympic-sized pool on top of that. Yeah, I agree with you. I totally get it.
Yeah. Water polo, awesome sport. And they like dunk each other. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So I actually, that was going to be my number 1, but I'll put it at my number 2 so that our number 1s are different. But I had water polo at 1. I love watching water polo. It's so much fun to watch. And just for all the things that you said too, just the amount of strength and stamina you have to have in order to, 1, stay afloat. So, people who can't swim, that they're already impressed with that. 2, you have to be able to, stay in contact with your team and try and figure out how to score a goal that way on top of that. And, all that, all the other stuff that goes along with that as well. So, you already hit all the nails on the head, so I'll leave you at that. What's your number 1, Chris? What's your number 1?
The number 1 Summer Olympic game is handball.
Really? That's not something I expected from you. I thought you would think handball is stupid.
I choose handball because it is stupid. What a ridiculous game. You all know the rules of handball. The rules of handball is to take a ball in your hand and throw it in a net.
It's literally the rules of handball.
And
the net is huge.
To make it harder, you can't get close to the net. The court is shaped like it has 2 big half circles where the goalie stands and nobody else. Literally nobody. But you can like jump into the circle. That doesn't make sense. You only made that rule that you can jump into the circle because it looks cool. You get a flying throw. What does that make sense? And the dribbling part, that makes 0 sense. Like they just dribble for no reason, it seems like sometimes. Maybe I just don't know. I definitely don't know the rules, but they just dribble for no reason. And the athletes that do this game, I feel like these are all the rejected athletes. The rejected athletes.
That is so mean.
So these guys were playing basketball, right? They couldn't make it in basketball. So they switched to, I don't know, tennis or something. Couldn't make it in tennis either. Then they switched to swimming, or no, they switched to diving. Actually, they switched to diving. They couldn't make it in diving either, and then they finally made their way to handball, and they're killer on the handball court, bro. But seriously, look at some of those guys. Those are not like A1 athletes,
right?
But that's what makes it great. This is a rec sport that's being broadcasted on national TV for millions of people to watch. And it's a rec sport is what it looks like. It looks like a made up rec sport. Like I wouldn't be surprised if like literally Texas A&M rec sports didn't make up this game. Well, it's great.
So before I give mine out, I want to give a shout out here to Uncontrollable Gamer 97. I'm not sure what 3P stands for, but Rifles is what I watched. That that's another good one. I enjoy watching that because some of that takes some real marksmen.
What's up with the 10-meter rifles? For 10 meters is nothing.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
10 meters, like you gotta back up, bro.
Yeah, so shout out to Uncontrollable Gamer 97. Thanks for tuning in tonight, man. And thank you for your comment as well, and joining in on that. My number one, and I changed it because water polo was going to be my serious number one. But this is my non-serious number one. Race walking.
Oh yeah.
Seeing them do that the whole time. Yeah. I cannot.
But legitimately, like the form you have to have for race walking, like it's super specific. Like, have you watched?
Yes, I know.
Anything on the form?
It's so dumb. It is so dumb. It makes no sense whatsoever why to have race walking.
Exactly like handball.
So both of our number ones are stupid. I guess so. Okay. Well,
that's why the Olympics are great. Nobody watches the Olympics so that they can go and watch a sport they've always watched. The reason the Olympics are great is because you watch sports that you have no idea about. It's amazing. So of course we're going to pick those things. That's what the Olympics are all about, is watching a bunch of athletes that aren't really the best at sports compete on a national level for fake pieces of precious metals.
So
what a lovely thought to end this podcast on.
Man, just a thing. I'm looking at this race walking thing. There's some history. It made its debut in the Olympics in 1904.
Yeah,
in St. Louis. It's been around for over 100 years. I didn't know that. I thought that was
like
a recent
longer than
thing.
Running.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's the dumbest thing ever.
No,
and for some reason, there was literally 1 year where I sat down and I watched it, and I don't know why. Because I guess because there was nothing else on. Oh no, I remember. I was waiting for men's volleyball because the Team USA was doing really well, and right before it happened to be race walking. I can't remember how many years ago that was, but
yeah, race walking is for the guys that didn't even make the handball team.
So if you didn't make soccer, then you got relegated to handball, and if you didn't even make the handball team, you get relegated to race walking. Oh man.
How do you even practice for that in public? Like,
it's so awkward, right? Can you imagine just thinking about that? I can't imagine. Anyway, okay, we're gonna end this off tonight because we got another long podcast tomorrow that we're gonna have to talk about everything else that happened. Just hint, Marc-Andre Fleury, Philip Grubauer. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. Thank you guys for tuning in along with Christian Chambers. I'm Ryan. Make sure you go follow us on all our Twittergrams, Instagrams, Snapbooks, all that jazz. And thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring this episode. Make sure you use that promo code THPN to get a good deal for all that stuff. Anything else, Chris? I'll let you have the last word before we close out for this evening.
TU sucks. They're going to get destroyed in the SEC.
Oh, we'll talk about that tomorrow, too. All right. Good night, guys. We'll see you guys on the flip side.